Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing a sliver of your very precious life with me today and listening to our podcast. Thank you for all the support, all the reviews, all the ratings, and all the engagement online. Really, thank you. Thank you for hanging out. I feel it. Today, we are going to talk about how to build your class, how to increase class numbers. It's the most important metric of really, it's like how people vote with their feet. If they like you and what you're doing and how you're doing it, they're going to come. And if they don't, they're not going to. So if you're doing it well and it's attractive, they're going to show up. So it's, in other words, your class averages is a very important KPI, key performance indicator of your success as an instructor and your viability. And then on the whole, the class averages of your whole group fitness schedule, how the whole team is doing collectively is an indication of the viability and vitality and vibrancy of your club's group fitness program. So that number is just really important, and I'm absolutely sure you track it. I'm absolutely sure that you're reporting your numbers to the manager, to the owner, etc. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you can get numbers up if that's something that you've been struggling with. This is also going to apply to like when you should add new classes and what you should do if a class is kind of looking like it's failing. Should you pull it off, and when should you pull it off, and how should you pull it off the schedule? So let's talk about it. Sometimes classes just fail and they need to be pulled. But what makes them fail? It's any of these variables, these three the most. Are you ready? Instructor, format, time slot. Those three the most. There's some other couple things I'm going to add into this little intro to the podcast. But instructor, if the instructor is not good, whatever that means, maybe she's boring, maybe he or she comes late too many times, maybe he or she doesn't give proper options for students to feel successful, whatever it is, maybe it's the instructor. Maybe they don't cue well, or they cue late so people feel unsuccessful, or maybe they cue in a negative way. There's so many things that, and let me stop that list right now, but there's so many things that we can do right and wrong as instructors. So maybe it's the instructor. Maybe if you pulled the instructor and let me circle back to that. Maybe it's the time slot, the time of day, the day of the week. In most clubs, like a Friday evening class is not going to be successful, for example. That's not considered like a super prime time slot. Now, if you have a rock star and you have an incredible format, and it can happen. There are exceptions to where a Friday night class can work. But for the most part, that would not be like a really great time slot. So maybe it's the time slot. And also like Mondays, club traffic trends tend to be heavier Monday, because Monday is like a mini January 1st. It's a blank slate. It's a start over. The people are coming in fresh. They had the weekend. They're ready to hit it back again. They have some renewed intention. So traffic trends and attendance trends are heavier Mondays than they try to trickle through the week. And usually once people get 2-3 great workouts in, they feel like they can cut themselves some slack. Like they had a good week at the gym. So they might be less likely to come on Friday, for example. So sometimes it's the time slot, sometimes it's the instructor, sometimes it's the format. And it doesn't even mean it's like not a good format. It just might not be the right format for your club or your people, because some formats are very niche, and there's nothing wrong with niche formats either, because a niche, when it hits. Like a niche will make people's hearts sing if they like that niche, whether it's like, yeah, I could give examples, but so maybe it's the format, maybe it's the time slot, meaning day of the week and time of day. Maybe it is the instructor. So Before pulling a class off the schedule, managers assess what of those variables is not working. And it might be two of the three. It might be that it's a perfect format, but the instructor isn't teaching it well, and the time slot is not quite right. But man, that format would be great for your members. Maybe it's the format that they don't like, but the instructor is awesome and the time slot's good. That's just not the class they want, the style, the modality. Maybe it's the instructor, and if you put a different one in at that time slot with that format, it will work. Maybe it's a couple of those things happening at the same time. So I'll give you that example right now. One of my friends, you're going to get to know her. You might already know her. She's Mary. She's my friend. And we also work together in a few different capacities. She's an instructor for me at the Downtown Athletic Club. She also is a warrior instructor. So she teaches my formats. And also she is the warrior official photographer, AKA the paparazzi. She comes around the conference circuit. So if you do follow me, you see her work all the time. All the pictures that make me and my format look amazing online are from her. So shout out to Mary. She's also going to be doing a podcast for you with me at some point in the near future on how to make the most of your fitness photo shoots. So wherever you live and if you book a professional photo shoot for your fitness business, how do you get the most out of your time with that photographer? How should you prepare for that session? We're going to do that. Okay, that vignette aside, she had this time slot. She was teaching pound on Fridays at 11. Not the best time slot. Wah, wah. Not the best time slot. Like 11 a.m. is a little tiny off peak. 9 a.m.s are great. 6 a.m.s are great. 9 a.m.s are great. Lunch times are great. After work is great, except for Fridays. And she had 11, so kind of a funky time slot. And it was Friday. Not the best time slot. Also, that was not a smash hit format for our club. Now, it's a great format. And it's gone gangbusters in another club in town. But it's just like a very niche thing. It's like drumming, it's cardio drumming. It's great, but it wasn't what our members were wanting. And so they weren't showing up. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't the instructor. So managers, we have to assess what variable is right or variables. And before we just pull it, what can we change first? How can we resuscitate it back to life? And with this particular example, I knew the instructor was right. Time slot, not so much. Format, not so much. So we made some changes. Pulled her class to 10 a.m. There was already a 9 a.m. Pulled her class to 10 a.m., which was slightly more towards a peak time slot. Changed the format. Changed the length of the format. Made it an express class. We're doing a warrior rhythm flows. And so it's working. Change the time slot, change the format, kept the instructor. So doing sort of a forensic analysis on what's working, what's not working before just pulling a class off the schedule is that's cogent advice for the directors out there. Sometimes, so we said instructor, class time, and format. Sometimes a class fails or nearly fails because it didn't get a good start. Classes need a good start to get traction. Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. Nothing makes people want to gather like a bunch of people. Like, oh, there's a psychology to it. Oh, this is the place to be. Oh, this is my time is well spent. Here, look at all the people in this room. And on the flip, if there's only 3 people there, it says something subconsciously, maybe on the psychological level. Maybe it's not even subconscious. Maybe it's like a conscious thought, like, whoa, nobody comes to this class, but it says something. So starting a class well, like day 1, is a super important step in setting up a class. So when we have a bunch of people in a room, the group think is like, yeah, we're going to have a great time. So let's start to get into the heart of the matter today on some practical things that you can take with you if you're trying to build your class. One, give yourself a little bit of grace and time. It does take 6 to 12 months, truly, to build a class. So avoid the temptation of throwing in the towel too early, whether you're the instructor and you're just like, maybe it's not filling your tank or stroking your ego because there's not a lot of people coming. Do not quit. I am going to talk more about this. I'm actually going to talk about quitting in another episode. So you're going to hear more from me on this topic. But for the purposes of how to build class numbers, in that 6 to 12 months, don't quit. If it's not stroking your ego, oh well, you committed to it. Stick it out, see it through. Now, 6 months, better yet, 12 months into your commitment, if it's still just really not filling your cup, then consider stepping down. And on the flip, the manager, like yanking it after a couple months or 3 months is too soon. It needs time. I've been the person that killed a class. When I was new, I had a cycle class. I took over a cycle class for like a beloved instructor in town, and it was full. And when I took it over, I killed it. Everyone stopped coming. And it took a long time for me to build it back up with people that liked me and my style. It takes time. So give it time. Be patient. Give yourself grace. Give the instructor grace if you're the manager. Take some of the responsibility on yourself, instructors, to market and to promote, rather than sitting back and expecting the club to be the entity responsible in having your class succeed. We're fortunate enough that we have a marketing department. We have the support of a marketing department for our instructors. How amazing is that? Not all clubs have that. Even still, I take the marketing of my classes, whether I'm doing a special event or there's been a change to my schedule or whatever, I own it as my responsibility to get people there. So I think that's important. Ownership piece is owning that you are the primary role in getting people there. And if you're, moved to town and you're brand new and you're new in town, and yes, you're going to need some marketing support, but okay. So when I say take marketing into your own hands, what I'm talking about is like promoting it online, in your Instagram stories, in whatever, Facebook events. There's lots of ways that and that I do this. So I'm going to kind of go through all of them. Starting with, I curate a lot of content to promote and love on and nurture and show off and share my classes on social media during my classes. Meaning I get a phone and we'll do some like quick little zips around the room to show the class or to show me teaching the class. And I have worked really hard. This is something I've done really well that I want to share with you, because it isn't something that will happen automatically. It's something you need to work at creating, is a safe environment for that kind of behavior. I know most people sign a waiver when they join a club that it's okay to be photographed for marketing materials or whatever, but it is still not okay, even if they sign that. First of all, if they sign it, they might not even know they signed it. It might be in the fine print of their enrollment paperwork. So also, if they sign it, they still might not be comfortable with it. And I would never want someone to feel uncomfortable in my classroom. It's the opposite. I want them to feel like it is the safest place to move, to be accepted. And some people just want total anonymity. They don't want you to talk to them. They certainly don't want you to get them in your Instagram reel. So one, I have a sense for it. I can read the energy really well. So I'm not going to be pulling out my phone and taking content it's for someone's, if I have like newbies in the room that are there for the first time getting a feel for things. Unless I have some like unusual read on them that they would love that. I am really sensitive to it, and I have learned ways that roll off my tongue quickly to address it to the class. Like, hey guys, I'm gonna be getting some content so that I can promote this class on my social channel today. I love promoting what we're doing here and showing you guys off. Now, if you're not comfortable, all you need to do is give me a stink eye. So like, I don't know if you're watching. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm giving myself a stink eye. Like, give me a stink eye, or I do like this hand gesture, like like nixing something. Like, nope, nixing it. I say, just give me one of those. And then trust me when and I kind of make a joke out of it. Like when I'm going through the video on my phone and I see your stink eye, I'm gonna delete that video for sure. So there's ways to address it and to know. And then basically I have a lot of regulars, I have my FRDs, my front row divas. And I also have, I'm just so fortunate that I actually have like a pretty impressive amount of instructors that take my class. It's pretty awesome. So my front row is typically a couple, 2, 3 instructors that work for me, and my front row divas that are there every week. They've been working out with me for like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Except that I wasn't teaching 25 years ago. That was an embellishment. 24 years. And I like already know, like they love when they're in my videos. So what I will really try to do is like just catch them. Then if I'm doing like a broad sweep of the room, I will fast forward that. Basically, I'm just capturing energy. Like, look, it's a full class. I'm capturing the energy of the room, but I will fast forward it so fast that the people in the back row, if you think about the psychology here too, people in the back usually want to hide. That's why they're in the back. The people that want to be in the back and want to hide probably don't want to be in your video. So don't get them in your video, or do my trick of like, they're on like 10 times speed. You could never recognize a single one of them, but you can sense the energy. My video will show energy in the room, but no one in the back row basically is identifiable. And then anyone I know, I sense or talk to, or, gave me the stink eye, which, doesn't really happen, is just not going to be in there. So it just has been so helpful in creating FOMO, fear of missing out. If you live in Eugene and you see my stories and my reels of my classes that I take the time to curate to promote, like I'd want to be, if I wasn't me, I would want to be in my class because it looks like a fun place to be. Oh my gosh, I just saw this meme today on Instagram that said, I hope this doesn't fall flat because I'm never good at like saying funny things. I mean, I'm funny, but I'm never good at trying to say funny things and be funny. It was like, would you date you? Okay, this was a meme. Would you date you? And then it was like the response in this meme was like, I'd be outside my window with a boombox. So anyway, I don't know. It made me think about it because I was like, if I wasn't in my class, I'd want to be in my class. But anyway, back to the point of taking some of the ownership and responsibility for the growth and success and vitality of your class. It really helps if you are promoting your classes with video content, and you do need to create a safe space to do that. You probably have a Facebook group for your club, or maybe you have one yourself. I do, I have both. So I have one that's for people that take my classes, and I teach online too. So I have a Facebook group that includes people that take my classes, both in person and online. It's just basically like, and sometimes I'll put fitness articles in there, inspiration, funny things, podcasts, recipes, all kinds of my class schedule, any special events I'm doing, shout outs, all that jazz goes in the Facebook group that is related to my classes, people that take classes with me. Then we have a Facebook group, a private Facebook group also for the club. And so promoting in there, like every time I have a new lesson, a new ride, not every time, but sometimes, pretty often, I will go into the Facebook group and be like, join me at noon today, new stuff, great new playlist or something like that. And so that's a way of promoting your classes too. Collabing, back to making videos, posts, pictures, collabing, asking them to collaborate with your post. So if I take the time to make a great video and I invite the club to collaborate with me on social media and they accept, it will show up on their page too, which gives it all of a sudden the traffic of their followers. And there's going to be people that go to the club that don't know me. I mean, probably not, but I'm just kidding. That sounded arrogant, but it's just because I've been there for 18 years. But no, I'm sure there's people at the club that don't know who I am, and they might follow the DAX page. And if the DAC accepts a collaboration with me, then I'm going to be literally marketing to the perfect audience. Or if you tag them in the stories, you're advertising your class to the perfect audience, the people that are following your club or facility. Okay, now I'm gonna do a whole entire podcast on special events that you can do to make people fall in love with your classes and your club. And this is gonna be more like through the lens of the whole team. Well, not necessarily, it can be you, but it's gonna be like things you can do if you've sat in on any of my business sessions on the conference circuit. It's gonna be sort of this similar content, like creating an annual fitness calendar of monthly events that make the program what I like to call sticky, so that people don't quit coming. So I'm gonna do that in its own episode because there's just so much I have for you there, but it sort of obliquely applies to this topic. So I'm just gonna quickly touch on things you can do in your class to just boost numbers. Black lights, 18 bucks, Amazon, ask your class to wear white. We'll talk more about it on another episode, but just make your class fun and special on little to zero budget. The dollar store. I have done so many fun things at the dollar store. You go before Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, anything like New Year's Day. I've gotten gold glitter little tiny little hats that like rubber band around your chin, and like what do you call those beads? What are those things called? What are those beads called? You know, those beads. I'm asking like you can answer. Come on, what are those beads? Come on, brain. What are those beads? Those beads. Anyway, those beads. Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras? Mardi Gras beads? Is that what they're called? Those are always there. So for New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, all kinds of stuff you can do. Like the Barbie class. I did a Barbie class and it was like magical. And it wasn't even about the movie. What was magical about it is the text thread that I threw together for that event. And I'm like right now deciding, like, do I want to go into the depths of this right now or save it? I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna talk about this on that other episode also. But basically what happened was my class was really into the Barbie movie. I was not, tomboy here. And my daughter wanted me to see the movie. And I was like, I'm not really interested in that, but going to see that movie. But my class was like all talking about it. And they were like, you should go. And then my daughter was like, we should go, Mom. And so of course I want to go with her. So I'm like, And they wanted to do, or I don't know if it was their idea or mine, I really don't know, but we wanted to do a Barbie themed class. We have men that take class, so we discussed what that would look like for their wardrobe, and basically, spoiler, it was they would wear a hat, a cowboy hat, or a pink shirt. So if they were Ken. And anyway, this is something I did on my own, just by like talking with my class, like kind of as we're cooling down and stuff. And so it wasn't something that I went through marketing channels with. I didn't ask the club to do stuff for me to promote this. It was kind of like an impromptu, hey, do you want to do this in like 3 weeks? Or 2 weeks even, maybe it was. And then of course, like we knew that maybe someone wouldn't get the memo, but basically I started texting, I put everyone in a group text. The class was good. The class was great. In fact, people in this text thread said that was the best day ever. But for me, it was just like an ordinary class. I taught well, it was fine. But what was so special was the 3 weeks of that group text that just kept getting funnier and funnier and funnier and more touching. Like it was like, 19 of us in a text thread, and it just got so creative and crazy. And one of our students, one of our girls does karate, and we found a karate Barbie, and then we were like, people were getting pink pedicures, and people were shopping for pink colored lipstick for the event, and everything was just showing up in this text thread, and it just made it magical. And anyway, it's just creating an experience every once in a while. That was just a normal class, but it felt like an experience. And it's just because I asked him to wear pink or a cowboy hat, and because we got in this text thread. Oh my gosh, I have so many more ideas. I'm gonna save those. Teaser, I'm gonna tease you with how many great ideas I have for special event classes, and I'm just gonna keep it rolling. Testimonials. You can do videos of asking your class for basically testimonials, like how'd you, anything like that. Testimonials are great. And doing community events just to raise awareness in your community that you're the rock star instructor that you are, and that they need to come find you in class. So taking some marketing into your own hands, being proactive and not expecting your club to be responsible for filling your classroom. Empowering members and asking them to support your class with their attendance. That's literally the phrase I use. Those words, steal them right from my lips. Support with your attendance. Empower them. The members are part of your success story. They deserve to be empowered for that. Ask them to help you, to support you. And I say it about my staff too. We're adding these new classes. Please support them with your attendance. I always give the why. I even tell them the whole groupthink thing. I mean, I don't use that word, but I literally say the crowd attracts the crowd thing. I say that to the members, like, look, we need to get a crowd there because a crowd attracts a crowd. And we want this instructor, this format, this time slot, blah, blah, blah. We want this to be successful. Please support them with your attendance. I use the same language if I'm getting a sub. So-and-so is subbing for me Friday. I'm going to be in Canada. Please support them with your attendance. Please support, please support, please support us. There's no better way our members can support us than by showing up for us and for the hard work we do for them, because we love them. And then, like, again, it's that voting with your feet thing. I say that to the members too. You can steal that language too, especially if you're a manager. Well, both instructors too. You vote with your feet. You vote by showing up. Sometimes they think they vote with their mouth, or by filling out a survey saying, I want this class, and this class. Or by saying, oh, that's my favorite format, or I love that instructor. No, they vote with their attendance. They vote if they made it there. Side note, if someone tells me in my class that they aren't going to make it because they have an appointment, 100% of the time I say, excuse me, this is an appointment. You already had an appointment on your calendar. it's me. You had an appointment. I'm your appointment. So reschedule that appointment. I mean, of course, if it's like a doctor's thing and it had to happen, of course. But like, no, it's a mindset thing. Okay. So canceling classes is incredibly hard to do for managers. That's actually part of my confession today. It's incredibly hard to do. It's hard on the heart. And it's hard on everything. It's hard on everyone. It's hard on the members. It's hard on the instructor. It's hard on the manager. And it's really helpful if you can manage the expectation around that from the beginning rather than like later. So ways, little tricks I've learned along the way is saying like to like maybe if I'm bringing an instructor into a new format, new class, new time slot, whatever, or they're taking over a class that's maybe struggling, or they're taking over a class that's not struggling. Basically, I let them know, like, while it's not before it's an issue, before it's a performance issue, or potentially a performance issue on their part, because that's when the conversation's harder to have. Before it gets there, before it even starts, before they start, I say, attendance matters. We need you to be averaging 12 people or whatever. It's different per club. It's different. Like every club has different expectations and different demographics and different traffics and size. But for us, that's kind of the number. Like if it's not averaging 12, and I have a little more slack in the dog days of summer, like August, if it's, not averaging 10, letting them know it's going to be on the chopping block. Let's have that conversation now. It's going to be on the chopping block so that they know. And then also same thing with the members, letting them know like, hey, if you want a class, you want classes to stick and you don't like when they get canceled, because members do not like when you cancel a class, even if they only went once every 6 months. They do not like it when they don't have that option anymore. Letting the members know too, that that's how you keep classes on the schedule, is you show up, you support it with your attendance. I say that again, millions of times, all the time, support with your attendance. Okay. So when you're doing that and asking members to support you and stuff like that, I just wanted to add, avoid like coming across as desperate or insecure or fearful, because that's just not a good look. Confidence is a good look. So just be careful, because you're asking them to support you so that you're successful. So just be careful in the way that you communicate that you're communicating it with confidence and gratitude and excitement, rather than like, oh no, what if they cancel my class? We would never want to speak like that to our members. Ask them to bring a friend. That's another tip. Super easy to do, but are we doing it? Are you doing it? Have you done it? When's the last time you said, with that microphone on your head, everyone do me a favor and think of one person in your life or a member that you know here, or that you've met in the sauna here or something, or a friend that you would love to work out with that maybe isn't a member. Everyone think of one person that you would consider bringing with you or inviting to come to class next week. When's the last time you did that? How powerful is that? It's like the power of sales. We have to ask. It's so silly, but sometimes we forget to ask. Ask for the sale. In this case, it's free, unless there's a guest fee involved. Ask your boss, or it depends on your hierarchy and the setup of your club and your organization, your org chart, but ask whoever needs to be asked if the marketing team, if you have one, can support you and your efforts more, if they can give you some love. Can they give your class some love? So this, again, will look different for different situations, but it's going to look something like you going directly to your group fitness manager, or if you are the manager, you going on behalf of whoever's class is struggling and going to the marketing department and saying, these are the classes that are kind of struggling right now and they need a little bit of extra love. It's these 3 classes. Could we, brainstorm with them? Could we make some posters? Could we do some handbills or some flyers, or add them to the scene screen? There's a whole bunch of cool things also, like special event wise, that will help grow classes and support new instructors, or not necessarily new instructors, struggling classes. Special events that include your powerhouse instructors that pack, like there's some instructors at our club that always bring tons and tons of numbers. And then there's some instructors that maybe they're newer to the area, or they're brand new, or they have a bad time slot or whatever, and they're struggling. And so having special events that combine the instructors that bring a lot of people and the instructors that are struggling to get a lot of people, because it gives exposure of the struggling instructor to the masses, and they need it. Because a lot of people won't go to an instructor that is out of their routine. Similarly, it's really important that if your class is struggling, well, we should be doing this anyway for karma, so that we get it back when we need it. But subbing classes is a great way to expose your talent to other people that wouldn't ordinarily come to your class. They wouldn't even think about it, or they wouldn't even know that they liked you. But you subbed, and then they're like lined up next after class. They're like coming up to the stage or coming up to your bike or whatever, meeting you at the stereo, and they're like, oh my gosh, when do you teach? It's because you subbed. That is one of the best ways to grow your class numbers. That was actually on my list, so I just put it out of order. So let me back up to go to asking your club for some love. Some other cool things that the club can do, the marketing department, is they can create bingo, which will again encourage this like I was about to say cross contamination, and it's kind of a negative word with a negative connotation. So maybe there's a better cross pollination, that's better than cross contamination. Bingo, playing bingo. And this can be on paper, like I mean, it can be like old school, or it can be like Instagram social media bingo in stories, which is really fun. And Canva has already made templates for it. So it could be like your bingo square could be like, join the Facebook group. That could be like one square. Invite a guest to a class, could be a square. Take a class from an instructor you've never taken one before. Or I didn't say that very concisely, but you know what I mean. Take a format you've never tried before. I'm trying to think of some of the other, like, then they can get a little more like, take a cycle class, take a yoga class, take a functional training class. They can be more like, take a HIIT class. They can be more like that. Like they can speak to the buckets that our formats fall into. So like when I say functional training, there's multiple like workouts at classes that fall under that bucket. We have group power, we have warrior strength, and we have this training called the zone. Giving a broad bucket for your bingo square is great, but that's fun and it boosts numbers, not just for the instructors or instructor that might be struggling, but maybe for everyone's classes. Bingo. And then what else? Remixes, like show some choreography, ask the club, ask your marketing team, can we do some remixes? Can you do a call to action on the to the members of the club to remix this choreography with me? Or can I do a call to action to the club, and will you post it? Social media takeovers, that's something I'm about to embark on with my squad, but letting someone log in to an instructor, like a behind the scenes in their life, would be awesome. Them getting ready for class, working on choreography, getting their breakfast before they go teach, and all that stuff. It's pretty great. Newsletters, all that stuff, all types of marketing. All right, next point. Instructors trying to build your numbers. Teach like there's 400 people in the room, even if there's only 3. Treat it like it is the biggest, best class you've ever taught in your life. Truly, that is a sign of a fantastic instructor. And somewhat related, remember to avoid saying, "Where is everybody?" Because remember, that's very offensive. It's a very unkind thing to say to your 3 people that showed up for you. For the 3 people that did support you with their attendance, to say to those people, "Where is everybody?" is not very nice. So I know there's like there's a tendency for us to do that. You know why? I think it's our ego. Because I feel it too. And I think it's my ego. Like, it's like me, it's like I want to say, it's like what I want to say by saying that. I don't want to say like, you guys are chopped liver, you don't matter to me. It's like I want to say, normally we have big numbers. So it like wants to come out of my mouth like, where is everybody? But no, says the wrong thing. Okay, you know that. I guarantee you everyone listening already knows that. Let's see. We already talked about subbing and how and why that is so important. And then a couple more things and then we'll wrap it up. Be yourself. Remember I said I killed a class? The alternative was to be like her. The popular instructor that I took over for, this is probably like circa 2000 or circa 2005 or something like that. And she was it was a Saturday morning cycle class. She was a more serious, she was great. We're all different strokes, different folks. She was like a more serious, sort of more like terrain based, like didn't ride to the beat kind of a cycle instructor. She would literally do, I just remembered this just this second. She would literally do Tour de France with them. She would literally do like Tour de France. Oh my God, I totally remember. She would like tape up huge butcher paper, isn't that what it's called? And like draw the terrain. Like she was excellent and they loved her. And I took over and I'm like a live wire. I sing and I whip my hair and I dance on my bike and I move to the beat and I program to the beat. And I was not their cup of tea. So I could have tried to be like her. Can you imagine me trying to do a Tour de France ride when I don't even have a bike? A road bike? I have a cycle bike. I just don't have a real bike. Can you imagine? That would be incongruent with who I am. And how could I be good? And how could I be effective trying to be like someone else? So instead, I took the loss. I took the hit. I took the blow to my ego. Whoa, they don't like me. They stopped coming. That's okay. I'm great. I can build this. I'm going to build this. I'm going to give it 6 to 12 months. And if 3 people come, I'm going to teach like there's 400 people in this room. I'm going to sub every opportunity I get. I'm going to connect to the people in this room. I'm going to ask them to bring friends. And I'm going to make classes really fun and themed occasionally. And I did it until there was like a waiting list week after week, literally a list. Like, I mean, I don't mean a waiting list. I mean a line that like there was a line of like it would like wrap around to the daycare to get into that cycle class. But would I have been that successful if I tried to be her? No way. So I just hired I actually just hired 4 people in the last couple months. And 2 of them, one was for cycle and the other was for water. And both of them, a man and a woman, asked me, they're taking over someone's class. They wanted to know, like, what's the style of that instructor? What's it like? What's the style of the class like? And I did tell them how the instructor in there teaches. I did answer that question honestly, but I was like, but you know what? Just be you. Just teach water, teach cycle in the case, these 2 respective cases. Teach it the way you love it and the way you love to teach and represent that format. Show you off to them. They will be so grateful. So I think being your authentic self is, and like figuring out who that is, maybe if you're a newer instructor, figuring out what your style is. We just did the episode about your style and clothing. Like, but like more important, like what's your style in teaching? And just like owning that and And that is a way to grow your classes. The way to grow your classes. It's also a way to have ultimate fulfillment in teaching, because it's not fun and it's exhausting to try to be what you think they want you to be, or to try to, God forbid, to try to be someone else that you're not, or to be good at things you're not good at, because you're good at your own things. Okay, my last little tip for building class sizes is to go above and beyond. I don't know if you do this. I'm imagining that if you're listening to this podcast episode, you're already this kind of instructor. But maybe you guys share these episodes with people that you're mentoring, or new instructors, or instructors that might benefit. Like that email marketing podcast I did is so good. Everyone needs to learn those skills as an instructor, as a professional, whether you're the instructor or a manager or even the owner. Those are such important skills. So I was really hoping, and I believe it did happen, like those episodes are getting shared with people that maybe don't have the skills. Like you probably have these skills because you're showing up. So going above and beyond, I just want to tell you that today I taught my Warrior Revolution cycle class. And when class was over and I cleaned up the room and turned all the lights off and all that stuff, I sent 2 text messages to members. I texted 2 members. Do you do that? Do you do that kind of thing? One of them told me that he had tripped and fallen. He has Parkinson's. And he had hurt himself. And so he had let me know when I saw him, which was actually yesterday. It was actually yesterday I saw him. And he said he wouldn't be in class because he was in a lot of pain. So the second class was over, I texted him and I said, I missed you. How's your ribs doing? The other person I texted was someone who just had a knee replacement. And he came, it was his first class back post-op, and he only stayed for 20 minutes and couldn't stand at all. So he just kind of, it was great. It was wonderful that he would want to come be in a room with us, even though he couldn't do all the things we were doing. And so I texted him saying, how'd it go? How'd that feel on your knee? And I just think going above and beyond is how you grow your class. Because you know what? I guess I'm pretty skilled at this point in my career as an instructor, just because I've been doing it so much. Not that I don't have room to grow, because I do. But I will tell you, for years, I was pretty scrappy. And if you know me very well, you've heard the story about how when I started teaching, I couldn't find the beat of the music. So I was really bad when I started. I mean, I was pretty terrible when I started teaching. And you know what? I think made the difference for me, because people don't care if you mess up and stuff and get lost. They don't care. They care, truly, not to sound cliched, but they care about how you make them feel. And they care about being cared for. And that comes naturally to me because I do care for them. And so they didn't care. And this is one of the best things you can do to build your classes, is to give care. And that often looks like, did someone have a birthday? I brought a member a tiny little birthday gift this week on Tuesday. I go to Trader Joe's. It's on my way to the gym, and you can get a little succulent for like $4.99, and it's pretty cute, and it's in like a cute little ceramic pot. If you have a Trader Joe's near you, this is the same cost as getting a birthday card. And then just, put it on the corner of their yoga mat. If Facebook tells you that someone in one of your front row divas is having a birthday, see if you can swing by and get him a little something. These are the things. Those are the things. Going above and beyond. Speaking of the gentleman that had the knee replacement, Mary, to bring this full circle, the paparazzi, you know, Mary, the warrior photographer. He also takes her class. She had him in class on, oh, I don't think it was almost his last class. It was his last class with her. Do you want to know what Mary did? He's a cyclist, like a real one, like the kind that wears a helmet. That kind is a real cyclist. She got him a gift basket. And I think if I recall, because she sent me a picture of it, it had 2 professional cycling magazines in it, some like munchy goodies, maybe some type of snacky snacks in there, and a bell, a servant's bell, like ding, 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 so that he could like call for his wife to come help, like help him. How thoughtful was that basket? 2 magazines, some crunchy candy, and a bell. And that bell could have been from the dollar store for all I know, but how thoughtful is that? That's how we create like loyal following and huge class sizes, and really that's how our cup is overflows. So let's quickly recap, and then I'll just give you a quick little confession. 1, classes can take 6 months to 12 months, so give it time. Don't quit, don't yank it. Do any of the variables need to be tweaked? Give it time, give yourself grace, but work at it. Own much of the responsibility of marketing that class yourself. What can you do to promote it and create FOMO so that people aren't there, feel like they should be there? Oh, P.S. smiling pictures. Literally, when I pull out my phone, I'm like, everybody smile. I don't care how hard you're working. Everyone put on a smiley face. Smile. Empower the members by asking them for their support. They're so important in the equation of our success. Ask them to vote with their feet. Ask them to bring a friend. Ask your boss, your marketing team, whoever you need to in your proper channels, to give your class some love if it needs it, to help you from the club's marketing. Teach like there's 5 million people in the room, even if there's one. Sub and expose your talent to other members. Be yourself. You are incredible and amazing. And then finally, go above and beyond. Send the text, buy the birthday gift, go above and beyond to make those special connections. I guess my confession today, just trying to like fall in line with the theme of this episode, is that it is the least favorite thing about my job, or the thing that I hate the most about being a group fitness manager, is having to pull someone's class away from them. That's my confession. It's really it's very hard to do. It's very hard to do because I love my team and I know that they want it and I know they work hard. It's a hard thing to do. Also, I try not to become friends with my staff. Because I want to be a good leader, and it's hard to be a good leader, an effective leader, if you're casual and friendly with everyone. But it's hard because like we're so like-minded and impassioned in the same ways that it's really easy to fall in love with them and to want to be their friends. Every once in a while, one of them, I like to say, slips through the cracks. So yeah, it's hard. That's hard. That was my confession, is that it's really hard to pull a class, and it's really hard to not want to be friends with my team. And sometimes it like happens. It does happen against my best intentions. One more thing about having to pull a class related to this confession for managers is that when I hire people, I almost always hire very proactively, meaning my hair's not on fire. There's no crisis. there's no emergency. I want our sub list stacked, fat and happy, like happy, beefy, long. I want it to not be hard for people to get subs. And so I hire for the sub list. That way I can vet the instructors and see if they're well received, see if they're talented, see if they make sure it's a really good fit, because it's hard. And even if I'm doing 3 interviews before I hire someone, including a class demo, a phone interview, like it's hard to know if it's hard to know what that person's really like and if they're going to be a wonderful fit for your club. It's hard. I can't wave a magic wand and know that. I can just make my best decision after the interview process. But sometimes I'm surprised that in how someone turned out to be, both positively or negatively. I've been surprised. And like setting yourself up for hiring for the sub list instead of hiring when like, oh, it's an emergency, I need to hire someone to cover this class, is one of the best ways we can avoid that dreaded part of the job, which is like taking someone's class away from them. For example, if it was the instructor. So with that, thank you so much for listening. And you are amazing. And I know that I'm speaking to a talented audience and in some ways preaching to the choir, but I'm here to give you guys value. And I hope you could take like one little nugget out of the list, maybe 2, or that you can pass it along to a new instructor that might need help building their class. All right, everybody. See you next week. Bye.